I think there is truly a shift happening right now. There's a lot of exposing of darkness going on. There's a few people who I watch here on YouTube. Tony Gaskins, for one, he has been exposing a spirit that is very rampant, and he calls it a little ugly. But in secular terms, this is a covert narcissist. And biblically, I'd say this is like Cain or Judas, or the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And there's another channel called Alpha Talks, talks with a Z at the end. And I haven't watched all his videos, but he has been talking about parasites and parasites being demons. And I totally agree with this. And I have, a couple years ago, I had a dream about somebody who has this Judas, Cain, spirit, covert narcissist. And in the dream, this person had parasites. So I do think there's something to that. And this Alpha Talks on his channel, he's also been talking about NPCs, which was a new term to me, but the concept wasn't. I've long noticed that there are a lot of people who they come off like brain dead zombies, not to be mean, but that's how I would describe them. Very hive minded, no critical thinking skills. It's like how there are bots on the internet, like on YouTube, but these people, they're kind of like bots in real life. And it's just kind of bizarre to me that people are like that. And honestly, a lot of Christians are like this. There's a lot of Christians that believe doctrines of demons, and it's astounding to me. And I've already talked about some of those doctrines of demons that a lot of Christians believe. And lately, I've been talking about how demons enter a person. And this is a wellness channel, but it's a wellness channel from a biblical perspective, with God's version of wellness. And in an earlier video, I talked about pharmacists being alchemists and the goal of an alchemist. And I believe that the big pharma monopoly and the toxic chemicals in food is by design. I do think it also has to do with greed and negligence. But at any rate, I do think it's sinister. I do think that it is so people can be corrupted. I mean, there are multiple ways for someone to be demonized, and altering a person's chemical makeup is just one of those ways. And altering somebody's chemical makeup has a lot of negative effects. And psychiatric drugs are a good example of this. Doctors are supposed to give informed consent, meaning they're supposed to inform you of side effects to meds they prescribe or procedures they order for you. Otherwise, there isn't really consent on your part because, well, you don't have the full picture. And then you have pharmacists and doctors who are just so overworked because so many people rely on them for their health. Americans eat poorly, and then when the consequences hit, when sin comes to collect its wages, people rely so heavily on doctors and pharmacists to clean up the mess. But this is what Big Pharma was asking for, because, in fact, it didn't really take long after the pharmaceutical industry's inception for them to establish a monopoly on health. A lot of biomedicine creates the problem that it claims to treat, and worst of all, creates new problems. A lot of Americans have chronic disease. And so this right here, this is from an attorney's website, but this is a list of drugs that are linked to SI. And so just like with any new think, such as biomedicine, at its inception, people are going to be curious and want to flock to it. And that is that hive mindedness within certain people. But biomedicine has had some very questionable, very dark, and very evil moments in its brief history, including the thalidomide tragedies. And there is a documentary on YouTube that you can search for if you're not familiar with that. And just a side note, the people involved in the development of thalidomide are pretty interesting. Wikipedia says that there were a couple of them involved who were war criminals. So basically the point is that man errs often, but God already told us how to achieve wellness. So first of all, God is a healer and protector. And second of all, he already said he has given plants as medicine. But the problem is that some people are just so enveloped in the world that they put their trust in the wrong people. They put their trust in people, period. And don't forget that cursed is the person who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength. And the Message Bible, which I don't read, but sometimes I like to take a look at it to see how they put it. And they put it this way: cursed is the strong one who depends on mere humans, who thinks he can make it on muscle alone and sets God aside as dead weight. You guys, that is heavy. And that's what happened to King Asa, which I talked about before. Don't be a King Asa.